Welcome to the Release Show. I'm your host, Brittany. On today's show, we have Tamika Newhouse. From teen mom to CEO by the age of 20, Tamika became a huge staple in the rise of Black fiction writers and contributed to the demand of urban fiction. Quietly over a decade, she discovered and published Black writers, printing over 200 books and creating a platform for thousands of writers' stories to be read. Even through her trauma, Tamika has balanced her battle with bipolar depression for most of her adult life by pursuing her dreams and writing love stories. She is currently creating stories that dig into motherhood, sexuality, and self-love with raising children in Atlanta. Let's welcome Tamika.
Hi, Brittany.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. Excellent. I'm excited about our conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
Me too. Thank you. Please share with us your story from being a teen mom to CEO.
Ooh, oh my gosh. Okay, so I could be so long-winded. That's such a broad question. But I have to start here because somewhere I grew up in the church. I'm
Okay.
Christian heavily. I was in church 5 days out the week. So I was a very spiritual child. With my big mother and my mother, they had the vision or discernment, as some people used to say.
Yes.
And when I was 12, I told my mother that I was going to become this full-time novelist. I was going to move to Atlanta, and that's what I was going to be. And this was after I saw the film it was a book, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, by McMillan. And it became a film. And I was 12 when I went to go see it. And I was already writing. Like I had already been writing. I had written my first novel even by then at 12. And when I discovered that this was a film that was a book written by a Black woman, I was like, well, wait a minute. We can do that? And so I was like, okay, well, bet. I'm going to do that too. So I don't know. It was just something that I knew I was going to be. I felt like it was always in me. I've always had this ability to, I guess, have this infectious energy where people kind of enjoy being around. So sometimes I enjoy sharing that energy, and sometimes I like to go back into my shell and be like a turtle. But I knew that I was going to be this. Like I spoke it. I verbally spoke those words. But to do the work, it was, or to get here, it was more so discovering that I could just do the steps myself.
Okay.
So when I was 20 years old, I created this MySpace page called AAMBC. The acronym stands for African Americans on the Move Book Club. And I was living in a new city at this time. I had 2 children. And my husband at the time was off to war, and I was bored. And I was reading all these books. I didn't have any friends. And I was like, you know what? Let me write about these, not write. Let me talk about these books on MySpace. And so I created this page, and I started talking about these books. And I started getting these inquiries from other writers talking about, hey, can you read my book? Can you, talk about my book? And I was like, okay, well, sure. And I was shocked, first of all, that it was hundreds. I was starting to find hundreds of Black writers. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Why don't we talk about us like that? And so I decided to, talk about their books, because growing up, we only saw the same, Black writers. We got the Black Harlem Renaissance. We got Maya Angelou. We got Toni Morrison, Walter Mosley, of course, McMillan. We have those classic Black writers that, that we see time and time again. And I felt like, well, these writers were like me. So let me talk about their books. Let me give them a chance, because I don't think that that's fair to these people, although they're great, keep getting these same recognitions. And so I birthed a company called AAMBC, which ended up becoming this book marketing agency for writers, and then a book club that grew to like 1,200 members. And from there, I began to self-publish, because I began to study and learn that craft. And by 21, I launched Delphine Publications, named after my mother. And so I guess that's like so that's how I got here.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your journey as a teen mom.
Oh man. So my journey as a teen mom, I had my daughter at 16, and it was somewhat surreal. Like I was already an introvert, so staying in the house wasn't hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
But and adding on this responsibility was normal for me. I was living in a world where we weren't we were poor. I didn't quite know or understand, that aspect of it, but we really did not earn a lot at all. And my mother, she really did her best. And by 14, 15, I was working and contributing to the household. So when I became pregnant, um, at 15, actually, it was just like something else to deal with, something else to do. And then my daughter was born, and my mother loved my child. Like my baby was with her more than me. Like she wouldn't even let my daughter go to daycare for 9 months because
Wow.
my daughter was born premature. And my
Okay.
mother was like, first she was mad that I was pregnant, of course. But
Yes.
then my baby can't go nowhere. Like my baby was with her. So we built this partnership, and I went into the zone of normalcy. Something I despise. I really, really hate normalcy. I hate routine. And I got caught up in that. And then I got caught up in the safety of trying to get out. And I found my way out of Fort Worth, Texas, and I ended up in San Antonio, Texas. But then I found myself in a marriage that I didn't enjoy, and I couldn't grow and prosper in. So it has been quite a journey
Wow.
to get to this place in my life to where I know myself, I know my wants, I know the type of people I want to deal with,
Yes.
I know my weaknesses, and I'm okay with taking accountability for that part. So, motherhood was challenging, but seeing my children grow up and become, these smart, strong individuals who now have their own personalities, their own wants, their own desires. I did a really good job, with that. So I'm gonna have to pat myself on the back on that.
Yes, pat yourself on the back, girl.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot, and to see you at this stage in your life is amazing. Have you ever wrote a book about your life, like from being a teen mom to CEO?
No, and that's funny that you said that, because that thought has been manifesting in my mind for quite a while now. But I felt like it was more that I need to experience. And then also when you're going through the healing process, I feel like you should take a pause,
Okay.
kind of have like a moment where it's just you in your space.
Hmm.
That may even mean creating some boundaries with your loved ones, creating some boundaries with your children, creating some boundaries with your partner so that you can heal and have this safe space. So for a long time, I've been on this journey of discovering me, like really understanding myself and really becoming, okay with, who I am. And
Yes.
so that even led with me discovering that I have bipolarism and depression, and I deal with these mood swings, and I have these highs and these lows. And now it's okay, and it's comforting, because it's like, okay, I have the tests, and I have,
Hmm.
now I've been studying it, so now I know how to pass it, to get to the next level. So I guess.
So, how have your challenges been with depression?
Oh, my challenge with depression was first understanding it,
Okay.
because I will have even low moments even now where I feel it. It's
Okay.
something that you feel within your whole entire being. It's in your
Got it.
brain.
Hmm.
It's within like your immediate view. It's within your emotions. It's within your emotions. It's something within you that you just can't alter or shake in that moment. And so when I didn't understand it, I would find suppressants. Like I would self medicate, or I would go into this cave or this dark hole, and my room would be dark for days. And,
Hmm.
I would just be in that space, or I would challenge myself in my work, and I would just be working, 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 working. Before you know, I didn't sleep for a couple of days, because this is my high,
Yes.
and I have been working, 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 working. And so
Hmm.
I've been in counseling now 5.5 years. And it took maybe like 2.5 years, that 2.5 year mark, to truly get to the point of understanding, because
Okay.
I had to do a lot of talking and processing, and then still existing while I'm talking and processing. And then once I began to understand, then I still
Hmm.
had to exist while understanding. So I had to
Right.
discover things that worked for me to help me in those spaces where I can just, okay, this is a low day. What can I do to challenge it? What can I do to counteract it? So I took up running. I have a more of a structured schedule.
Okay.
I have eliminated toxic people or toxic situations. And that took a while, Brittany. That took a long time
Wow.
to
Wow.
build the space in the world that is safe and good for you. So, you know, it's
Yes.
still working at it.
Yes. Well, I suffer with depression myself. I really had it really bad. I actually wanted to commit suicide.
Oh
Two
my
times. I
goodness.
remember being on the interstate one day, and I was just tired of life, and I wanted to hit the wall. So I like pulled my car to the wall, and a voice in my head told me to stop. And so my stern wheel is doing like this, and so I had to grab it, to get myself together. And then I used to live by a lake, and there was one night I was just really tired. I was tired of going through these same things over and over and over,
Yeah.
and feeling loved, and it was very hurtful. And so I remember that night I wanted to drive my car into the lake, and I just told myself, "You got to get it together, Brittany. You really do." And I just got on my knees and I prayed and I asked God to just remove this depression from me.
Yeah.
Please remove it from me. I want to be happy. I want people to see this jolly person. And
Mm.
so he actually removed depression from me. I've went through a lot too. I actually wrote a book about my life. And, writing really helps you. It really
It
does help
does.
you. Writing really helped me. I remember staying up late at night, typing on my laptop in the bed, and it felt so good. And
It's
even
like
when
a
I,
release.
yes, and
It is a
even when
release.
I finished the book, I was like, wow. And I felt so much better. I was able to forgive those who hurt me on my journey, and just get past those hurtful things, because I didn't want to live my life like that. I wanted to try to find something to get me out of that.
Yep.
And so I tend to go in like a shell when I go through things. I tend to like remove myself from everybody and get real quiet. And
Yep.
so I wanted to find a way to kind of not, when I go through things, not like hold it in. So sometimes I'll drive in my car and I'll just cry, and just talk to
Mhm.
myself just to get it out of my
Just to get it
system.
out. Yeah.
We all go through things, you know what I mean?
It's like bathing, it's like eating, it's
Mm-hmm.
purging. And I've had this conversation, but a dozen times over and over and over, as I try to get people to be comfortable with expressing, their thoughts and their emotions. It's
Mm-hmm.
like there's no right and wrong in this.
Right.
And just like you feed your body to live, you take in water for nourishment, for hydration, to keep yourself
Mm-hmm.
alive. Like your brain is your most powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Like your heart can be beating,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could just be lying there still. But
Mm-hmm.
without your brain, nothing functions.
Right.
So if you're not really taking the time to understand it, taking the
Mm-hmm.
time to cleanse it, taking the
Mm-hmm.
time to also nurture it and educate it, what actually is going on with your brain?
Right.
Like it's an organ. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
literally an organ
Mm-hmm.
that needs to feed and also needs oxygen and energy. Like all
Yes.
these things. Like, come on, people. So it's for me, it's almost logical and practical now. And then I had to kind of find some forgiveness, as you stated, but also understanding and my mother's passing. I think that was a huge trigger
Oh, okay.
for me. Is one when I got older and I started, meeting people,
Mm-hmm.
going through the world, traveling, meeting readers, creating these stories. I was like, my author life was almost like a rock star life. Like I was doing the
Mm-hmm.
most, like at the height of my career. Like I was just
Yes.
having a ball. But I had to learn people and life without a mother.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
didn't have anybody to call and be like, or have those really vulnerable, deep,
Yes.
conversations with, not for a very, very long time. And so for me, I began to kind of build an inner, like an anger,
Mm.
like where I was just upset, like, you know what, like she could have waited out like about 10 more
Yeah.
years. Like she could have hold on. She had to leave so early. Like I was having my moment. And
Uh-huh.
so like I had to become like become at peace with that, and then begin to build my own family. And I think that that's something too I had to really share with people who don't quite have family, or because a lot of my close family is either passed on, like I have no
Mm.
maternal overseers,
Wow.
fraternal overseer. Like I have nothing. Like everyone
Wow.
is kind of just passed over. A lot of my mother's side of the family is all in Texas, never really been close at all. So I kind of navigated through this space, on my own, and I built my family. And so
That's
now
good.
it's much better.
That's good. That's good. I'm happy to see you smiling.
Thank you.
You have been a writer for decades and helped other people become successful in their writing careers. When did you first notice that you were born to write and make books?
Let's see. I think I realized, let's go back to middle school when I
Okay.
wrote my first novel, Nothing to Lose.
Okay.
And I was like this, I was a lonely child. I wasn't very outgoing.
Mm.
And it wasn't that I was just awkward or ugly or just stank or I walked around looking for nobody. Not like a regular black girl. Like, I was,
Right.
dark skin, somewhat cute, but I didn't have the confidence and I didn't know how to engage with people.
Okay.
And so I wrote a lot. And
Okay.
so through my writings, I had my select friends that would read it and they'll give me their feedback. I also wrote love stories to all of my, conquests, all my boyfriends that I liked back then. And I was like this love letter writing, fanatic. I was a pro at that. And I think that I knew then, and I would hand make my books. I would create a cover. I would say bye, Tamika Jameson. I'll put like dates on it, and then I'll make a fake copyright page, and then at the back of it, I'll put about the author. Like I knew this is what I was gonna do.
Right.
Like, I knew this was going to be me. I knew this is something I was going to, who I was going to become, and there was nothing else that was going, I was going to do that I was going to do. But like most people, we kind of get caught up in normalcy. I became a mother really young. I got married at 18, and everything else became first. And so those dreams really became like very dark. They were gone. They were like in the back of the mind. They was something that was going to happen. I just didn't know when. And again, it wasn't until I started AAMBC and discovered self-publishing is when I knew that, wait, I can do it myself. And I was so good at it. Really, really good at it. Before my book came out, I was on a flight. I had never flown, but I bought myself a plane ticket. I flew out to North Carolina, and I literally sold 2 books.
Wow.
Just 2. And I gave 2 away to a bookstore, a local bookstore, where I still never got paid my books, but whatever. But I have 4 books that I was I was able to kind of get out there on my first go round, and that inspired me because there was 4 people that had not read my book before,
Right.
and that fueled me. And I was on a flight, every month, or I was at a book signing or doing something every week. And I was so good at it, I attracted other writers who wanted to be a part of the publications. And so that's when I kind of took on that journey. I was like, okay, well, why not? Maybe I can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And good thing you did. As a Black fiction writer, why did you focus on urban fiction?
Well, I think people forget that writing is an artistry. Like it's an art form. Like I'm an artist. So I'm going to write about things that are within me, within the things I identify with, the things that are part of, the world that I'm used to, the world I've been exposed to. So I'm more of a really emotionally driven writer. So urban fiction was something I navigated for because first that genre wasn't even respected when I really came out. You had like a whole book line. You got Urban Books by Carl Weber and Michael Bazin. He was creating these storylines that everybody mama was talking about. And we was creating these conversations around stories that really wasn't celebrated or put on the book screen or put in these magazines that really talked about because, maybe it wasn't important, or like they say, Black lives didn't matter. Or it's ghetto, it's hood, or whatever the case may be. But it was our life, it was our reality. That's the type of romance or relationships we've been exposed to. So that's why I've always been so connected to those type of stories, those type of storytellers. So writing is an art form. So, that's pretty much why that genre.
The writers or inspiring writers of today are distracted by so many things. What are those things you think they should do to remain focused on what they can be successful at?
Oh, well, obviously the goal is, to earn, to
Mhm.
prosper, to be happy.
Mhm.
So if the things that you're doing are not going to, equate to that, lead you into that direction, for me, that's just logical. Like,
Right.
you shouldn't be doing it, shouldn't
Mhm.
be taking your focus off of what's, your goal is. And so to do that, people that are around you are a huge influence on your
Mhm.
life and on your
Yes.
journey. Then how you are disciplined in your time. So time management, have your really good schedule, be disciplined with that, practice on it. Like, you'll get up and go to a 9 to 5 faithfully.
Mhm.
So faithfully, place yourself into your schedule and stick to that. And that's like, even if you're like doing a diet,
Mhm.
add those things to your agenda. Like, be really structured and
Mhm.
be intentional. Like, it's always about the intent. Did I
Yes.
answer the question?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay.
There's more than 200 books with mostly Black writers that you have discovered and nurtured. What characteristics do you see in these people that gave you the confidence to put in the effort?
That's a really good question. Everybody was different. So with Delphine Publications, like, I was 21 when I brought in my first writer. And so all the writers were like 10, 15 years older than me. So I've never, it's always been like this weird dynamic of where how I connected with people was very important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this company is named after my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted her name to be spoken daily. Her name and her presence to me was just everything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can create all sorts of stories just based off of her personality, based off of how diverse and different and unique she was. Like, she's all these things. So I can publish all these things under her name. And so I would actually talk to every writer that I decided to bring on to Delphine Publications. And it was always about, what story do you have to tell?
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that the story works for Delphine? Do I feel like we can connect? Do you understand, the importance of being involved in this journey? And I had these conversations with these writers, and I would mentor them. I would take them under my wing. And I did this because, again, this is my baby. This is not only my baby, this is my company. And then these individuals are investments. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you're investing in people, time, money, energy has to go into it. And so all these people I selected on my own. Didn't do a great job with some of these people I selected. I think in business you have your good and you have your bad. So
Yes.
I had to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to be a boss, also how to be a friend, how to be a mentor, how to be an overseer, again, without my own mothering or overseeing or whatever the case may be. Um, and a lot of writers that came on the Delphine Publications, they said things that they thought I wanted to hear. And there was a lot of lack of accountability when it came to writers on the Delphine Publications to do their part, to market their books, to be involved, to understand their voice, and then to also understand that Tamika Newhouse is a brand and a writer, and
Mm-hmm.
Delphine Publications is a brand and a company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same thing. So
Yes.
I've had an interesting journey with publishing, like a really interesting journey.
Good.
I can have a whole conversation on that.
Today, many Black writers find it hard to get someone to publish their works, especially if they discuss social injustice and racism. What advice would you give such people to help them succeed and get published?
Well, honestly, self-publishing is a huge demand these days. Like, everyone has pretty much decided to tap into that space at some point because it gives you creative control. You also
Mm-hmm.
can release the book when you want to. But now, because black is trending and like everybody want to be black, like
Mm-hmm.
it's blackity black, 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 black. So now everybody really wants to kind of bring in that new it factor, the new the next great black voice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's right now these big companies and these agents are pulling for that black voice. Like, I just hosted Black Writers Weekend, which is
Okay.
a book festival that I curate for writers, and I
Mm-hmm.
had a panel of editors on there, and it was five, and four were whites, and they represented Harlequin. Ooh, a few others I forgot. Sorry.
Mm.
But they were mainstream publishers where they can give you really nice, beneficial, and fruitful contracts. And they were looking for stories that are diverse. They're looking for stories that are unique. They're looking for diverse writers. They're looking for people of color, period. And I think this is a really good time for writers to research, find the agents and publishers and editors that are in the stories they are seeking. Twitter is always putting out this hashtag. It's MSWL. So if you
Okay.
search that hashtag, agents are always putting out the stories that they're looking for. Hit
Wow.
those people up. Go to Query Manager. Yeah, querymanager.com. It has a list of a whole bunch of different agents that you can find to match the story that you wrote. But then also, before you go and try to, find the agent that's great for your story, what is your story? Who are you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why do they want to publish your book? Did you put your best foot forward? Did you have some beta readers and better people that's going to read your book ahead of time, tell you if it's good, did they connect to it? Does it suck? Like they're going to help you, make meet out your story, and also get it edited. Like, don't just submit a book that you just wrote and then you want to just say, "Hey, publish this." Come on, folks. So yeah, that's my advice.
All right. Becoming a successful writer is not easy, but very possible. What are the most critical steps you think young Black writers should take to succeed in their craft?
I think young writers should understand that your work is just a part of you, but you are the most important piece of this. So when it comes to longevity, when it comes to really building a fan base and following, you have to be a really great follow-up, especially depending on the route that you choose to take, whether it's indie or if you're going mainstream. Understand who you are as an artist before you step into this role. And then once you discover your voice and you have an idea of the things that you like, the things that you don't like, the type of events that you want to go to, the way you feel that your book cover should look, or your art should look, or your music should sound. Once you have an identity and you understand who you are, then you can begin to kind of connect with people. Because it's not about putting out something that you feel that is going to interest people. You're just supposed to be putting out yourself.
Yes.
And you're supposed to just be yourself. And people are supposed to connect with that. So there's no strategy to this. It's really understanding who you are and then just communicating that organically and being authentic.
That's great advice. Has COVID caused any issues or unmotivated you?
Honestly, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because I have been very intentional with my happiness, and I have been very intentional with my space. I've been very intentional with my journey. So since I was 23, I've been working on a life that I've wanted. I have not worked a job since I was 23. I have not lived a day that I did not want to live since I was about 26.
Okay.
And so I've been working on my peace, and I've been working on my joy, and I've been working on discovering me and knowing who I am for a long time. So moments like this, it kind of it solidifies why I am who I am. Life is too short.
Yes.
Opportunities can come and go.
Mm-hmm.
Talent is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a talent. Everybody is so unique. This is why our fingerprints so match. We all exist for a reason.
Yes.
So once we kind of step into our existence and why we're here, you find that happiness that doesn't really match anybody else's happiness. Is whatever your happiness is. So I was cooling during COVID. I was actually thriving during COVID. I've been earning more during COVID because the world was quiet and everybody, was sitting their butt down, which is what they should have been doing anyway. So no, I've strategically worked on having the life that I want and trying to be happy in that. And so I hope that people 2020, that's crazy that all these things happen in 2020, which is what a perfect vision is supposed to be.
Yes.
So come on, folks. Like, if this is just not some like a wake up call, or where you should be at the place where you don't want to do things that you do not want to do. You do not want to be in relationships that you do not want to be in. And if you are stuck, you are strategically and logically creating a plan to get out of it. because it doesn't have to stay this way.
Right.
And the route to get out may be hard.
Mm-hmm.
But what we gonna do? Not try? Like,
Right.
okay, so
You have to try.
you gotta try. And you gotta keep trying. And if that route don't work, cool. Regroup, cry about it, get mad about it, and find another way.
Yes. I like what you said. 2020, the perfect vision. I never even thought about that.
Yep.
Powerful. That is so powerful. I'm gonna have to use that.
Okay, man. Fine. You can use it.
All right, Tamika, is there anything else you'd like the world to know about you? Any encouraging words for the world during this coronavirus?
My encouraging words is choose you. What do you like to do? Who do you want to be? What do you do not like to do? And then create a plan, write it down, and break it down logically. So we know this is your overall goal. Don't look at the overall goal. What are the things you got to do to get to that one? Because there's a goal for each step. And then focus on that first one. When you achieve that first one, cool. Go back to your list. Cool. All right, bet. This is the next one. Sometimes you got to treat life like it's a game or it's a play. Like you about to go on the field and you about to run this score so you can, get a touchdown. Sometimes be really intentional with your planning versus just saying, oh, I wish it was different. Oh, I hate this. I hate that. Just be really intentional with the things that you want, but identify it first. And if you don't know, at least you know what's not making you happy. So start eliminating that. Come on, logic. So, and then also follow me, of course, on Instagram and stuff and Twitter. Twitter is really interesting for me. I tend to kind of speak my mind on that. And then I have a podcast called Traces of Mika.
Okay.
And it's an unscripted memoir that I have put together for you guys to hear. And so you're able to follow me on my journey, my influences. I speak about my entrepreneur goals, my motherhood, all those jazz. So go to Traces of Mika. It's streaming on everything. My website, TamikaNewhouse.com. And my new book, which is out, Sugar Hills, a Romance. Go on Kindle, Amazon, all that.
Yes, and I'll be sure to pick me up a copy of that. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And I really enjoyed our interview. And I wish you the best and everything.
I enjoyed this as well.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Lady. Bye.
Bye.